Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. So I have something really exciting to share with you today. You may be looking at this harp and thinking, oh, we've seen this one before. This is the Rebecca from Stoney End. No, you would not be correct. This is actually something else incredibly exciting. I have a harp friend who lives in a city not too far from me, and she and I have been talking about this harp for a while. This is a cross-strung harp. It is made by Stoney End, but it's a prototype that actually is larger and goes down lower than the Rebecca 30. So I am really excited to explore this instrument because this is just so cool. So we're going to talk about some of the differences, here's some sound clips, and yeah, exciting. Now, you may have seen some of my other videos on cross-strung harps, but if you haven't, I'm going to give you just a quick rundown of what this harp is about, because it's actually really unique and really neat. So the cross-strung means that I've got an entire set of diatonic strings right here on the lower right side, lower left side, sorry, just like a regular harp. And it crosses in the middle, so I also have access to those diatonic strings with my right hand up here on the upper portion. Now, the truly neat thing about the cross-strung harp is that I also have access to accidentals, basically the black keys of the piano, up here with my left hand. Sorry, that's that F in the middle. Here, we'll mute it on this side, or on the lower side with my right hand. It's so pretty. Those accidentals or black keys are, or you can also call them chromatic notes. They are really essential to a lot of music, and different harps have different ways to access those. Some harps have levers. Pedal harps obviously have the pedal mechanism, and the clever bit about the cross-strung harp is that all of the notes are just right there. There's no levers or pedals or anything you need to do with it. They're just there, easy peasy. I'm just gonna do some runs of notes so you kind of get an idea of the sound. I am gonna caution you, there are two Fs. There's the F and the F sharp right here. The strings are like hanging on by their last thread and they can't fully come to tune. I've got some replacements on order, but until I do that, I'm just gonna avoid those Fs, so that's why. So that's close to the full range of the harp. It's huge and amazing. Now, it can be quite difficult to find a harp maker who will make a cross-strung harp with a range all the way 2 Cs below middle C, which is sort of a standard lever harp range. I know that Argent Fox makes them. I've seen Blevins also makes them. But Stoney End does not anymore. They only make down to this F right here. So it's only 3 notes, but actually that low C does make a big difference in some music. And honestly, what I like to play on the cross-strung harp is really more of like the popular music, even like rock songs that I like to make little covers on the harp, which is really hard to do on even a pedal harp sometimes, because I mean, part of it is technique. I'm just not good enough to switch pedals quickly. Part of it is also that the instrument just wasn't designed to be switching back and forth really quickly. It's more of like, here's an easy key change. So yeah, the cross-strung harp is really amazing for that. And also for those songs, it's really helpful to have that low note, which is cool. Now, I mentioned that this is a prototype harp. I do not know if any other like this were ever made, but if there were, then they were very few in number. Stoney End doesn't even have the string chart for this on their website. I'm trying to get a hold of one to replace these F strings. So there's also some little idiosyncrasies, which are pretty cool, actually. The lady who sold this to me, she mentioned that she sees a design flaw in it, in that this lower octave, the notes are spaced really far apart. And in some ways, I can see how that would be a design flaw. If you're a professional harpist, as she is, and very used to playing with a standard spacing, then this really wide spacing down here is going to be really confusing for your fingers, for your muscle memory. But for me, I dabble in all sorts of different harps, so different spacing, absolutely not a concern for me. You can still do an octave on it, even if that is a little bit difficult. And I know that there is some technical consideration there. These big wire strings, especially when they vibrate with sound, they vibrate back and forth quite a bit, actually. So it's easy. Let's see if I can do it. No, they're spaced too widely, but on some cross-strung harps, if you pluck like hard enough to make a very loud sound, the string will actually run into the string next to it, and it will not make a pleasant sound, unfortunately. So it seems they've tried to avoid that with the really wide spacing, which personally I appreciate because, again, I'm very adaptable regarding spacing, and I would prefer not to have the yucky sound of string on string. Another really interesting fact about cross-strung harps, there's kind of two different ways to string them color-wise. So, of course, if you're a harpist, you're aware that usually C's are red and F's are blue, which it's pretty standard. It's very easy to navigate the harp that way. However, on a cross-strung harp, there was a trend back when these were first being invented, 80s I want to say, to make the accidental strings black, to sort of, reflect black keys on the piano, black. I think that might be a holdover from the European tradition as well. Because there's a whole other European tradition of classical music on the cross-strung harp, which is still alive and well today. I think there's a conservatory in Belgium, which is very cool. But I think the idea is that just helps you keep sorted in your head which set of strings is which. Personally, I find that super confusing. I don't know, I like the strings colored the same way that they would be on a diatonic harp, because for me, that makes it easier to think about and navigate, although I'm sure it's different for others. We all have our own preferences, and that's okay. But one thing I found interesting about this harp, and I'm not sure if this is something that a later owner did, because this harp is probably about 20 years old, but all of the accidental strings are actually blue. It's like they just took strings that were meant for Fs and just used them on the accidental side, except for the Cs, which are red. I'm also going to throw up some pictures of this on the screen so that you can kind of see in comparison to my Rebecca 30 that I had. I actually no longer own that. But you can see sort of there's a slight difference in shape, and primarily this harp is longer. It's just bigger overall, and it's definitely a little heavier than my Rebecca ever was. Personally, I think it's totally worth it for the range. I love having those lower notes, but obviously you're not going to be able to get one of these from Stoney End, but if you are considering a cross-strung harp, that's something to take into consideration. If you're looking at Blevins or Argent Fox and you're like, well, do I want one that goes all the way down to C? You might, but keep in mind, you might want to ask them about their string spacing if that's something that's important to you, because it is a compromise too far apart, and it's very hard to use your muscle memory if you're a traditional harpist, and too close together, and you can get that string twang fairly easily. So something to keep in mind when you're talking to makers. I just can't get over the beauty of that. I think it's an F sharp major pentatonic scale when you just do the black keys. So beautiful. Anyway, that is all I have for you today. If you're interested in learning cross-strung harp, I will put some resources and some books down in the description below, so you can sort of get an idea of what you're looking at, because there are lots of options. I also have some other videos comparing various cross-strung harps, so you can check those out if you're interested. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have any questions, please do ask me down in the comments below, and I will be happy to get back to you. Thank you all so much. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day. Thank you all so much for watching. If you would like to subscribe to my channel, go ahead and click on that subscription button right up there. Otherwise, if you would like to join my Patreon or buy me a coffee, the links to those are down in the description. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day.